Bradley Manning is the 24-year-old US soldier accused of the release of thousands of US Embassy emails to WikiLeaks. On Friday, the 16th of December 2011, his pre-trial hearing opened in Fort Meade in Maryland. Manning faces a maximum sentence of life in custody with no chance of parole. But just a few years ago, he was a teenager growing up in Haverfordwest in Wales. How does his story impact on the people he left behind? And who is responsible for his radicalisation? One answer comes from writer Tim Price and his new play, The Radicalisation of Bradley Manning, produced by National Theatre Wales and directed by their artistic director John McGrath. Tim Price is a former journalist from Aberdare in Cwmdare in the South Wales Valleys. He is the founder of the Welsh new writing company Dirty Protest. Price has created a story that tells Bradley Manning's extraordinary journey from schoolboy to soldier on trial.
I'd been commissioned by National Theatre Wales to write a play, and they'd greenlit that project. We were about a month from the launch of their programme, and I had a meeting with John to talk about that other play, and just a couple of days before that meeting, I'd read that Bradley was brought up in Wales. And I just kind of went to the meeting with John and said, you know, has anybody else pitched you a story about Bradley Manning? And he said no. I told him about Bradley's Welsh roots. And I said, this is a play and this is a story that NTW needs to do. And they announced it, and I still hadn't delivered anything to John. I hadn't given him a document or an outline, and then the next day it was in The Guardian as a news story, as if this play was written and finished, and as if the writer knew what he was doing. so that was a kind of chilling moment when I read that morning. I thought, I've got to think about how I'm going to do this now.
It made a lot of sense, really, to respond to what made that artist passionate, and then looking at the story itself and how it particularly resonated for Wales and for us as a national theatre. At that point it really became, you know, very clear that it would make a lot of sense to pursue it, and also because it's a news story, to get it up as quickly as possible.
Rehearsals began in Cardiff. 6 young, talented actors, Matthew Aubrey, Harry Ferrier, Gwawr Loder, Kyle Rees, Anjana Vassan and Sean Young were all under the guidance of director John McGrath.
The idea of Bradley in a Welsh classroom was always the strongest idea, and I'd always talked from the start of it, really, about how lots of the themes and lots of the ideas in Bradley's story about the power of anonymity and about radical protest, that kind of lots of those things were recurring throughout Welsh history. So we kind of started with kind of Bradley learning about this.
Hey, Kyle. Tyler, Bradley.
Wow, what happened to your face, man?
He's a soldier.
I had a concept of telling Bradley's story through classmates and kind of how Bradley's story impacted somebody who was still in Wales. And that was the kind of the dramatic structure to it. So that was the way into Bradley's story. And it just didn't work. So we had 2-3 days workshop in it, and we kind of pulled it apart. We didn't. John pulled it apart. And then I went home and cried and panicked and completely freaked out about what I was going to do, because that was my crutch through the story. And I realised that I was dodging the story, really. I wasn't telling Bradley's story, I was telling somebody else's story, and that was ultimately irresponsible, really. I think if you're tackling a story like this about a real person, you've got to tell their story.
The play was redrafted to place Manning at its centre, weaving through a series of flashbacks and flash-forwards, from his teenage life in Wales learning about radical movements like the Rebecca riots, the dead-end jobs he had in the US, his frustrated desire to go to college, and of course his experiences in the US Army, with basic training and then his deployment to Iraq at the forward operating base Hammer near Baghdad.
My job is about life and death. You'd think the army would value personal integrity. Instead, they'd rather 10% of their employees to lie and mislead every day about who they really are. Excuse me.
The story itself is pretty complicated and jumps back and forward quite a lot. So what we're doing, first of all, is actually setting the scenes chronologically so the actors get a sense of what happened, really can dig into the story and learn it. What do we learn about him as a soldier in the computer lab scene and the hacker scene?
We haven't his face.
Yeah.
He gets beaten up.
Yeah. To which Tyler and his response is always a soldier, you know, so he's doing rough things.
Why I felt compelled to write the play was because the kind of Welsh aspect of his story wasn't something that Wales seemed interested in or was aware of, or there wasn't a clear Manning campaign in media or in government. So yeah, that's part of the thing that I'm hoping to do, is to kind of raise awareness in Wales.
It is a live case, and that actually, you know, people are forming their opinions. That this is a moment in which people in their early 20s in particular are really shifting the political ground and talking about society in a different way, and that happens historically, but it only happens every so often, and I think we are in one of those moments, and therefore for us as a national theatre, we should be responding to that and listening to that voice and trying to find a way to stage it.
I think National Theatre Wales is here to start conversations and to start narratives and to ask big questions, and you know that's exactly what they're doing. I think I think this is their first play that, you know, is going to ask awkward questions of institutions.
Carry on, Richard. From the top again. We're going to do it one more time. If anything, slow it down. We'll just run through it one more time. If you're stuck, then take a radical action. And when you're ready, let's do that all again. Let's take it from the top again. That's very nice. Great. Let's take it from the top again. Once again from the same part. So take it from the meeting again. Come on, let's take it from the same point. Let's take it from the same place again. From the same place again. Fantastic. From the top again. And same again.
Obviously, I don't know, it just depends whether then on the Monday we're happy to totally kind of, you know, pack up from scratch.
We need to confirm truck.
Yeah.
And then I think we said that then it would arrive and then you would plan to unload at 6 once we finished our first day of rehearsal in Haverfordwest.
After these initial weeks of rehearsals in Cardiff, NTW and the cast members decamped to Tasker Millwood in Haverfordwest, the school where Manning did his GCSEs, where he learnt about Welsh history and where he attended their computer classes. Haverfordwest is an unassuming county town set amongst the beautiful valleys and coastal walks of Pembrokeshire, a stunning backdrop to Manning's extraordinary story. The cast and crew spent 2 weeks honing the play in the school, practicing the complicated transitions ready for their first preview in front of an audience.
We made a very specific casting choice because we decided even before it was written that it would be a play for 6 actors, but Tim wanted to write loads of parts, so we said, you know, write as many as you want, basically, and I'll find a way to stage it with 6 actors. But then when it came to the actual casting, and there were parts of many different ages in the play, it actually felt the most exciting thing to do would be to cast it all with people of pretty much Bradley Manning's age. We do this, yeah, and then we do throw, and then we do freestyle, yeah?
Yeah.
Self-indulgent.
So I think we've got to find time in self-indulgent freestyle to go to Bradley.
We all know he's alive, but he's in prison. And he was for a long time just in a cell. And it's almost like we're doing the play about him, like he doesn't exist, or like he's a fictional character. I mean, you should have to remind yourself that he's alive.
I thought you were going to try and take a deep breath for me before opening your mouth and getting into trouble.
I kept my promise.
So why did I just have a whole class revolting against me?
I did what you said.
No, you didn't. You got into an argument like you always do.
No, I did what you said.
And?
Oh, it worked. I got clarity.
It's quite an important piece because you don't get
a lot of theatre these days that's so relevant and current.
I didn't really know anything about Bradley, but yeah, so far it's been mind-blowing, like just learning about him and his life, and actually the story that's going on at the moment is pretty overwhelming.
We will fight them in our underwear! We will fight them in their underwear! We will fight them in no underwear! You're pulling them apart! Come on, man, let's give me the speech!
It's so strange being in his school with the same age. So I was in the same year in school. It's mad to think, like, to think back that we went through sort of education together in the same year. It's bonkers now to be doing a play about him in the school that he went to.
You want to sort of treat the material with a lot of respect because they're real people and real situations and real events that's being involved.
It's been good getting to learn so much about Bradley. And obviously being here in the school and stuff really helps bring it home, really, and puts it into context for us, how recent it is and how big it is as well.
Place detainee 4333453 under suicide risk status and POI.
What? No, why? What have I done? I've done nothing wrong.
Strip detainee 4333453 of his clothes.
Why are you doing this? What have I done? Look, please, no, please, just tell me what you want me to do, I'm begging you.
That's just shocking, you know, to know that we're walking down the same hallway that he would have walked in. And the site itself has a character and has a history and has a presence to it. And I'm glad that we've not just sort of set it up in a proscenium arch and kind of set it up in a very fake way. This is bringing a lot to the story as well.
Kill sound for a moment.
So Kyle, I think more headmasterly.
You're not waiting for anything now. You just give the cue now. I think National Theatre Wales has got a particular energy behind it because it's new and because a lot of the shows have meant a lot to people. This one, of course, not least. It's such a significant story. So I think there is that extra commitment there at the moment.
National Theatre Wales's dress rehearsal for the radicalisation of Bradley Manning allowed cast and crew to have a full run-through with props, costumes, lighting and sound design. It also offered them an opportunity to test out the 4 CCTV cameras that were being used for an ambitious live webcast that NTW delivered through their website.
Some scenes, it's interesting, as they, actually watching them through those cameras, they're actually more powerful, perhaps, than they can ever be on stage because they're scenes that kick in as scenes that we're used to seeing through that quality of camera, whether that's surveillance or a phone camera or whatever it's been.
We're creating a different aesthetic and a different experience of the show. So there's a really strong feeling of surveillance in the video feed. You're almost monitoring the story as it unfolds, and that has quite an interesting effect on the way you feel about what you're watching because you're kind of spying on it.
Who authorized this?
We're wasting our time on them, sir. They're not.
Who authorized this translation?
Well, I did, sir. Thought, I had suspicions that these weren't. They didn't look like insurgents, sir. I think by doing this, I've saved resources so we don't spend time gathering intel
Your
on
role
these 50
is
when
to
they're just
support
regular.
our brigades on the ground by identifying and tracking insurgents.
Yes, sir.
How does this help support our brigades?
Price had long been fascinated by the WikiLeaks story and how the Arab Spring and technology had been one of the prime activists' tools. But it was a direct link to Manning's upbringing that turned him on to writing a play about him.
That's one of the things that kind of constantly goes around in my head is the idea that Bradley is in a prison, and the idea that he's sat around in bus shelters waiting for buses to come along, just as I did, that he's going to hang out on rugby pitches after school, that he's probably watched Wales play rugby with a load of mates, that he's struggled with Welsh, These ideas make me feel kind of closer to Bradley than I have in with any other campaign that I've been, interested in. He had a Welsh teenagehood. That's a huge part of someone's life, and ideas formed during that period stay with people. We're in Cumdare now, which is where I was brought up, and behind me is Aberdare Boys Comprehensive School. It's called Aberdare High now. It's a great place, Aberdare, but there isn't much to do as a teenager. I grew up during the miners' strike and the pit closures. So I kind of experienced firsthand the kind of abject devastation of the community when big business and government retreats from an area. So kind of just kind of in the ether, there's a sense that radicalism, I think, is kind of in kind of Welsh DNA, really. At the kind of heart of his kind of tragedy is that he, more than anything, wanted to go to college, but because of the costs of that in the States, he wasn't able to do that. So he was forced by circumstance to join the army, and that's a kind of recurring issue in the valleys, that the poverty of opportunity leads people to join the military, not because they're particularly interested in the army, but because there's literally nothing else to do. And when I was in school, the only career people to ever come to my school every year was the infantry. And then, 3 miles up the road there's a private school, and the army would go there, but it'd be officer recruitment. And I think I've kind of never really let that go, really. I think the government and the army exploits the poverty of these areas, and I kind of think it's wrong, really.
The day before the dress rehearsal, lighting, sound, wardrobe and actors were still going through all their cues, refining the many complicated transitions between scenes.
It's quite a busy play in terms of props and things and transition, so just getting that right alone will take some time.
It's all going to come together in a big way, very, very fast, probably early next week, and then we'll be here left with something which I think is going to be really special, hopefully.
Finding those moments where I'm remembering as well, like, oh, right, so I'm playing Brian now, Bradley's dad, or I've got to do a 10-second scene change when I'm playing a drill sergeant, which it is a challenge, yeah, and it's just chaos, absolute chaos.
The kind of emotional line throughout the play is starting to actually make sense to us now.
What are you? What are you?
Bradley Manning is a sign of the time.
Bradley!
Dictating 4-3-3-3-4-5-3 parade break.
Specialist Manning, put the chair down. No, sir! Put the chair down, that's an order!
31 scenes in this play, so one of the biggest tasks is to kind of get those transitions right. And we're mostly there. There's probably about 5 or 6 that we need to rethink. But with the lighting design and the sound design, we're getting to tell quite a lot of the story through that, and it's a fantastic lighting design and a brilliant. Yeah, we're in a good place, but we still got a bit of work to do, I think. Yeah.
Great, you did fantastically, and that's in a really nice state, actually. So I think with the time that we spend tomorrow really tightening the screws on it, and then by tomorrow evening you should be able to have a really enjoyably secure and varied and rich and emotional run through of it. So get some good sleep tonight. Well done, guys. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
I think a few of us have been like...
We've got it all in, and we just need to, tighten up bits and stuff.
So actually, if Kyle's at the door, you go to Kyle, say, clear the rest of the chairs. Everyone knows when Kyle comes on, it's to clear the rest of the chairs.
On the morning of the first audience preview, John McGrath and his cast spent time rehearsing the walkthrough that the audience would later have to take.
I think the patrolling was working well. So if, for example, you end up with just a small filter of audience for a time, then it can go down to a couple of people with chairs and a couple of people patrolling, and particularly reminding them to stay within their designated area.
With last-minute notes done, John could only wait for the night's performance to unfold.
I go into a sort of mild trance for the next hour, and then as soon as it starts, I'll be sitting there taking notes. As a director, I often stick around a show as much as I can, even after it's opened, and just continue to get a sense of it and where it's going. But at that point also, you do really hand over to the actors, who make it more and more their own and find new things that you never even knew were there.
Doors open, and the first audience members made their way through the school corridors and classrooms on their way to the main performance area.
Detainee 4333453, are you okay? Answer, affirmative or negative. Are you okay?
Bradley Manning is a traitor!
Bradley Manning is a hero.
Bradley Manning is only a boy.
Bradley Manning caused the Arab Spring.
But Bradley Manning is gay.
Why won't you listen?
Contravenes regulations. No exercise. No exercise.
I'm still a soldier.
No exercise.
I don't want weak soldiers. I don't want soldiers I cannot trust. I don't want soldiers who think for themselves. I want soldiers who think for their platoon. Why are you still blinking?
In the Marines, we reply aye, not yes. Do you understand?
Yes, Corporal.
You mean aye?
Aye, Corporal.
Turn right.
Don't turn right.
I said turn right.
Corporal! I'm going through this every day so I can be where you are, and you can't even get out of bed.
Detainee 4333453, are you okay?
Yes, I got a risk to myself.
Detainee 4333453, are you okay?
Detainee 4333453, are you okay?
Yeah. Detainee 4333453, are you okay?
Yeah.
Detainee 4333453, are you okay?
Yeah.
Detainee 4333453, are you okay?
Yes, we have to do this every 5 minutes. Detainee 4333453, are you okay? Yeah.
Detainee 4333453, are you okay?
Yeah.
Detainee 4333453.
Just loads of feelings, kind of feel really proud, feel bewildered, I'm kind of glad to get one under the belt. There's little things to do, but I think we've got a pretty great show there, I think, and the actors have worked so unbelievably hard. I've never known a cast work as hard as they do. So yeah, I'm really proud of them. Yeah. It's going to help me gather loads of thoughts I have about the world and my feelings about certain things. And it's kind of made me realise that, technology isn't powerful, and we are. We just need to care. And I think Bradley's story kind of tells us that we should care.
There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going